Howdy folks, welcome back to another episode of Super Hamster Plays Kingdom Death Monster. As ever, do me a favour, hit the thumbs up button on this video, and if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well so you don't miss out on future videos. And of course, doing so helps me take over YouTube or one subscriber at a time. So in our last game, our 4 survivors here, Gabriella, Sebastian, Myth and Vola took on another white lion, successfully hunted, got a whole rake of resources, both white lion and generic, and even an exotic piece of iron. So we're going to do the next settlement phase, which is another standard one, nothing particularly exciting. But I think we're getting to the point now where we can start looking at maybe completing some of the armor sets, which will give us some bonuses. But yeah, we'll see how we go. As you may have noticed, I've started to paint those miniatures. So yeah, there's the guy with the spear. He's getting there. There is the rawhide armor and sword guy. Again, getting there. And there's the little girl with the knife, which, again, getting there. It's almost finished. I've also been starting to paint the old survivor model. Getting there slowly. I'm in no rush for him. As I said before, not my favourite model. But he is going to work quite nicely to track us as we move down the timeline. So we'll get cracking with that. So as ever, step 1 is the setup. We've got everything in place. Rather than leave all their character sheets out, I've just stacked all of the equipment that everybody had. So in case anything comes up that's relevant, we'll know who's got what. I've laid out the locations. We've got our innovations and principles up there, although looking at it, there is a space for the principles. I have shuffled the innovations deck. I have shuffled the settlement event deck, and I've laid out all the resources we've got, and I've got all the record sheets and things here ready to go. So that's setup done. The survivors return. Where can you see that one? Heal survivors, remove tokens, do not remove gear. Nobody had any permanent one, so we don't have to worry about that. So we move straight on to gain endeavours, and by a happy coincidence, here are our 4 endeavours. Update the timeline. If we come across to here, here is our sheet, and that's the end of Lantern Year 3, which triggers a random event, but other than that, it just triggers the random event down here, but there's nothing unusual in there. So let's see what our random event is. A rivalry. If there are less than 2 returning survivors, discard rivalry and draw a new event. We've got 4. Select 2 random returning survivors. They begin to argue. So first one will go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, re-rolling a 9 or a 10. 8. So it is Gabriella, and for the second one we'll do 1 to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, re-rolling a 10. 8. So Gabriella and Myth are going to get into it. They begin to argue and their screams rouse the settlement. Roll a d10. The 2 rivals beat each other up. Neither may depart this phase. Okay. So neither of those 2 can depart. We'll have to remember that one. But that's fine, I guess. I guess it'll have to be. Not a lot we can do about it. We have gained the lingering effect duel, which takes 2 endeavours, because obviously 2 people need to be involved. And you might end up killing each other. They might end up some win, some lose. One of them going to permanent strength, the other is dead. After hours of fighting, the two develop a grudging respect for each other. The settlement gains the partnership innovation. If neither survivor has the partner skill, both gain it, naming each other as partners. Remove rivalry from the timeline. See, that's kind of tempting to give that a go. Just have the two beat the snot out of each other and see what happens. But that is our effect. That is our event. Trigger any story events, settle events on the timeline this year. There weren't any. Update the timeline. Update the death count. Nobody died. Check milestones. Population still isn't 15. Settlement doesn't have 5 innovations yet. We only have 2. And our population is definitely not 0. No timeline events. Development. Well, as ever, I think the first thing we want to do is plough through that innovation deck. We need to get a bit more intelligent. And we have our symposium ability that lets us roll or draw 4 cards and pick from 4, whereas normally we'd only pick from 2. So let's have Vola here spend hers. And we'll draw 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. And let's see what we got. Ammonia. Paint. Hovel. Drums. Well, the hovel, I'm not so bothered about the drums one. Let's start with that one. Yeah, so it would move us on to this rhythm chaser fighting art or the synchronous strike one, and it has adds stuff to the deck obviously, but that's the least interesting. What have we got in paint? Settlements dwell with character. All survivors gain the dash survival ability, which, if I recall, is the one that lets them spend. Yeah, here we go. Once per round, you may spend 1 survival point to gain a movement action and use it immediately. So effectively, for 1 round, if you spend a survival, you would double your movement, which, you know, could be useful because you could move in, hit, and then spend the survival point to gain dash and run back out again. So possibly. Hovel. Settlement accepts this nightmarish landscape as home. Departing survivors gain +1 survival. That's a big deal. That's an ongoing effect. Everybody would get it. And it also ups the survival limit of our group by 1, which would take us up to 4, which isn't bad. And ammonia. Again, departing survivors gain +1 survival, but we don't gain the limit. A pungent bilious substance ideal for crafting leather and treating wounds. Now I can see this leading to first aid, and we haven't really had any real injuries so far. We've got Meninga that got slapped around a bit early on. Was it hamstrung? I think it's hamstrung. But it's the leather bit that intrigues me, because we want to start getting, we've got rawhide at the moment, but we're going to want to start getting into leather armor and leather equipment. So I'm thinking we'll go with ammonia. So let's put those back. We've gained ammonia, and I'm going to now go through the innovation deck and find the ammonia consequences. Okay, so the 2 cards that we gain are Lantern Oven, which for all intensive purposes appears to be some sort of smelter, which is going to be useful when we start getting into our iron and we've got a couple of broken lanterns kicking around. And Bloodletting, which is the beginnings of medicine by the looks of it. You can get rid of some disorders, and there's a couple of injuries you can cure there, although there are consequences to doing so. But yeah, so we've gained those 2. off to the deck with those. What else can we do as far as innovations are concerned? I'm liking this shared experience one. It says, nominate a survivor that has 2 or more hunt XP than yourself. They describe illuminating details of their desired death. If you are not deaf, gain 1 hunt XP from their story. If the nominated survivor has a shattered jaw, instead gain 1 insanity. So we can pass on a point of XP, but do we have anyone from our many characters here who has a high XP? And Gabriella's got 1, and she's the one we're trying to beef up. And Mithrax has got 3, but as they're in a bit of an argument at the moment, that wouldn't really work too well from a storytelling point of view. Same with Sebastian, he's only got 1. But Vola's got 3, so she could teach them. So I'm thinking we'll get them to teach. Let's get them to teach Sebastian. How's Sebastian doing? So he's got 2 survival. Sorry, Gabriella's got 2 survival and 3 understanding. Sebastian's got 3 survival, 4 insanity, and 1 understanding. And that's going to trigger the age event, which is going to give him some XP here. And I'll let him pick a weapon proficiency. But he is hyperactive, which could be a pain. I'm thinking we're going to go with Gabriella. So yeah, so we're going to spend Gabriella's Endeavour point, and she's going to have a bit of a chat with Vola. And in doing so, she's going to gain 1 hunt XP, which is going to trigger the age event. So we'll find the age event. And there it is. Oh, thank you for being alphabetical. Right, the time in the darkness has changed you. Gain the benefits of the Hunt XP milestone you have reached. So we've reached milestone 1, weapon proficiency. You may now select a weapon type for your weapon proficiency. If you wound a monster with a selected weapon type, you are now eligible to gain a proficiency level during the aftermath, which we already knew. Then roll on the table below. And we were going to go with daggers for her, weren't we? Do you want to go with daggers? We could go with daggers. But I know we've got our... Where are we? What have we got? The sinew, this one, which means we can make a bow now. So maybe it's time we got ourselves an archer. Although she's not going to be able to be in the next battle anyway. We've also got some lion claws, so maybe it's time to start looking at getting some katars going and turning her into the lion weapon wielding person. Because we've got a lot of that, but I don't think we've got enough to make a full suit of armour yet. So let's stick with our original plan. Let's go with... No, let's go with the bow. We'll go with the bow. Gabriella is now our archer. Decision made. Executive decision. And then we roll 2d10 and see what we get. 11. Gain 1 random fighting art. So let's find the fighting arts. These were in the box. They haven't been shuffled, so we'll give those a quick shuffle. And we'll draw one from the middle, and she's going to gain Thrill Seeker. Whenever you gain survival during the showdown phase, gain 1 additional survivor. Yeah, okay. not the most useful. I would much prefer to have got stat increase of some sort, but there you go. Maybe you gain survival during the showdown phase, gain 1 additional survival. There's not a lot in the showdown phase that gives us survival boosts at this point. So I need to work on that. Yeah, something to work on. Alright, Sebastian, I think, is going to spend his endeavour, and he's also going to ask Vola for some advice, which of course is going to bump him up to fight XP of 2, which will trigger his age event. So we pick his weapon proficiency, and I'm going to go sword. And then we roll his 2d10s. 13. Gain 1 random fighting art. Just put them back in the box. Right, and he's a tumbler. Tumble. When something would collide with you, roll a d10. On a result of a 6 or more, you successfully tumble out of the way. So I'm guessing that's going to be things like grab and bash when the lion pounds its way through, which actually goes quite nicely with his hyperactive. So tumble. And we put that one back. And we have 1 innovation left. And I'm thinking this is going to be on augury. And I'm going to send one of our new people who hasn't done a lot. We'll give him a chance to, or her. Who have we got? Well, let's create a new character. Let's call him George. Rubbish name, I know. Right, George, what are you doing, George? George is going to roll a d10. 5. He will gain +1 survival. So George, +1 survival. Meh. And that was our last endeavour point. So now we're just looking at spending these resources, and I think we had a couple left over from last time. What did we have? We had an Eye of the Cat and 2 broken lanterns. So I'll dig those out. I'll start looking at some equipment and some options, and I'll let you know what I've come up with. Okay, so as you can see, I've cleared some of the bits and pieces out of the way because we don't need them at this point. And I've built a whole rake of stuff, which I'll get to in a minute. I haven't used the iron and I haven't used the 2 broken lanterns, so they'll just go off into our stash. I've got a love juice left over. I'm going to use that now, and we'll trigger the intimacy event, which, if you recall from our Protect the Young thing, means we can roll 2 dice and choose the result. And I'm thinking we will send in unnamed female and Bob. So let's grab a couple of d10 and roll on that. A 7 or a 7. We'll go with this. No, this 7. Yeah, that's the one we want. Settlement gains 1 population. Male and female survivors share a deep bond and gain +10 survival. So also on +10 survival, and unnamed female +10 survival. We need a name for her. Well, we had George, didn't we? So let's have George and Mildred. Mildred. and we've gained 1 to 5. It's the new baby is male. It's male, and their son shall be called Brian. And no, he is not the Messiah, but he's probably a naughty boy. But yeah, so we've used our love juice. We'll get rid of that. So what did I build? I've used the lion testes to create a lucky charm, which if we can get 2 blue connections on someone's equipment, they'll gain +1 luck, which at this point doubles the effectiveness or the likelihood of getting a critical hit. So that's quite a good one. And we have extracted some monster grease from some golden whiskers and some monster grease from another organ. That will give the character carrying it +1 evasion, so harder to hit. And if we can get 3 green connections, which I don't think we will because these are the only green connections we have at this point, they'll gain an additional +1. I've turned the eye of the cat into the cat eye circle, which is an action. You can look at the next 3 hit location cards in the deck and put them back in any order, so that might be useful for spotting those traps. I've turned the curious hand, which other than being one of the characters gaining an insanity point when you find it, as far as I can tell is just hide by another name. We've turned that into a pair of trousers, rawhide pants, and the generic monster hide I have turned into rawhide gloves, which, if I'm not mistaken, means we now have enough to give somebody a full suit of rawhide armor, which is going to give them +1 armor in all their hit locations. And whenever they perform a survival action, they'll roll a d6, and there's a 50-50 chance that they'll gain a point back. So that's not bad. I've used the sinew and the not sure what the heck that is to create the catgut bow. So we've got a bit of ranged combat, and I've used a white fur and a lion's claw to make the lion beast Qatar, which is a bit of a mean, pointy, daggery death thing. But if I can get 2 of those and get somebody with a knife specialization or a Qatar specialization, then maybe we can create quite a serious warrior, especially if you combine that with a full suit of lion armor, which gives you bonuses to using those when you attack. So that's the plan going forward. That's all the equipment we've made. So I'll stash that. I'll write all this down. I've been umming and ahhing about the next battle, and at this point I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I am very tempted to start fighting or to have a hunt against a screaming antelope, just to be different, but frankly I think we could do with the resources from another line to start completing that armor set and that weapon set. So I'm thinking I will attack a level 2 white lion, but I'm probably going to do that off camera, as we've already done 3 fights now. 3 showdowns out of 3 have been the white lion, and although this one's going to be a bit tougher and a bit harder, it's not going to gain us anything, so I will probably do that off camera. The next video I'm going to build the butcher and the screaming antelope, because we're going to be fighting those very, very soon. And the next encounter, or the next lantern year, we've got this hunt coming up. We can spend some stuff, and then we've got to fight the level 1 butcher. So that will probably be the next fight that we do. So the next upcoming videos, there'll be a build of the butcher, there'll be a build of the antelope, there'll be another settlement phase like this one, explaining what I gained. I'll rush through it a lot quicker than this one. I know this one's dragged on a little, but yeah, some new equipment, we'll get things geared up. I won't bother explaining things with that one, and then we'll have the encounter with the butcher himself before we go out on our next hunt, which will definitely be a screaming antelope. just to mix things up a bit. And that's the plan going forward. Hopefully you're still enjoying this this playthrough, this campaign of Kingdom Death Monster. If you are, don't forget to give me a thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you've only just found us. Help me take over YouTube 1 subscriber at a time. And of course that'll stop you from missing any future videos. And a couple of the guys in the comments section have been really good at pointing out a couple of things that I've got wrong with the rules. Please, please, please feel free to do that. I'm learning this one as I go, and I'm learning it whilst explaining it to you, which is not the best way to learn a game. It feels kind of weird. It's good for teaching other people, but you tend to not notice stuff that you're doing wrong. So yeah, having several sets of eyes out there picking up on what I've done wrong on that one is a good thing. So there we are. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now. Bye bye.